There are only two emotions in a startup, euphoria and terror. Today on the switch to a greener economy, we are going to talk about how it is to be in one. From the start, to work in it, how to build it, and what comes next. It will be an exciting episode. Right, Alex?
Yeah, we'll see. It's 75% of the time you have to live with fear. That's the way living in a startup. But let's dig into it and see where it takes us.
Actually, I'm living in fear right now. Alex, you founded one, you are running one. The quote about euphoria and terror, is it true?
It's definitely true, Kristina. And as I said, 75% of the time you have like death of the company in mind at all times. If we don't reach this milestone, will we be able to succeed? Or if we don't do that, will the company go bankrupt? Or what is necessary in order to raise the next capital round?
Listening to you makes me
excited,
but I also guess that to run one and to be the CEO one, you must be a little bit crazy.
Yes.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, a little bit, yes.
Actually, I can confirm that statement. I mean, to continue with this, I love this quote that I started with. I love it. Yeah. It actually says there are only two emotions in a startup, euphoria and terror, and it continues. And I find that lack of sleep enhances both. So you mentioned a little bit about living in fear. Honestly, 6 years into this, are you sleeping well?
Yeah, well, I watch West Wing to put me to sleep. Otherwise, if I don't do that, my mind keep making up new ideas, and then I start calling people. So and that's not a very good work-life balance for all the people in the company. So the way I shut off my brain is that I watch old episodes of West Wing to shut off my brain, and then I fall asleep very nicely.
Okay, so this is also a therapeutic advice. If you have problems sleeping, check out West Wing. I'm not sure that they are so happy with that. To continue on this, I mean, it has been a journey. And I've had the privilege and the honor to stand by your side for many of these years. And I've seen, of course, the big parties where we've been celebrating the successes and so on, but I've also seen the stress it has put on you and the feelings that you've been carrying as the founder.
No, but you always have the stress and the risk of that a company will always, it could go broke or go bankrupt. In the first 5 years, more than 90% of all startups fail. If you stretch that out to 10, I think the number is 70%. So the risk that the startup will go bust is very high. And you have to learn on how to live with that fear, and how do you take the next milestones that will allow you to raise more capital if that's what you need, or make the sales that will take you to the next step. So I think from founding Baseload, we have been exceptionally lucky in finding very good people to work with that have the same mindset and also understand what drives value. Because if you can drive value, even though you make 1,000 mistakes, if you learn from them and you understand how can I use that in order to build a more successful company, you're on the right path.
How do you figure out what drives value?
For us at Baseload, it's developing projects and doing it in a way, not perfectly, because we all do, we've done a lot of mistakes, but understanding what the important parts are in the projects, and that also what the investor find is most important.
So how do you know? Because if you're starting a company and maybe you have a feeling of what you think drives value.
Yes.
How do you test the value stick?
Well, there's only two ways of create value, right? Either you have a product or a project or a solution that you can sell for more than a competitor, or you can make it for less. And the value is what you create in between. So the way that we test it is, how does our product compare to other product, or do we work it the different business model that creates more value than other competitors, for example.
Now you sound really smart,
yeah.
but I know that it's been. But I know that you're not. I'm just joking. You sound really smart when you're saying this. Just to understand the journey from when you started to to today. When do you feel that you figured out? Now I know what is actually driving value. After how long time?
I think, like, the original business idea still exists. Then understanding on how actually creating that value and getting to that point, that took, I would say, 4 to 5 years. So the original business idea was to invest in and develop geothermal projects, and the value would come from the projects, right? Then, how to actually do that and understand what creates that value, what are the different processes and steps, that took a long time, and we're still not 100% there, of course.
Along the way, you started, it was 2 people it was you in the beginning, and then you added on another person. You were a small bunch of people for at least a year.
Yes.
And now it's about 50 people in the company. To get alignment from all of this, me being a part of this journey feels that has been one of the difficult things. To get everybody, first of all, to live in the fact that we are a startup. So it does not fit everyone. It is more chaotic.
Yes.
You need to be more flexible, and you need to have very little prestige. So you need to be able to book your own things and to clean the toilet at the same time as you actually sit down and strategize of something.
Yeah.
So 1, it doesn't fit everyone, but then 2, even if it sometimes fit people, there is always a difficulty getting them understanding what's in your head, where you are moving the company to.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to, what do you want to be as a company, the core values, what do you actually stand for, and that's the first step of getting alignment. I think one quote from one of my favorite authors, Ben Horowitz, is, if you do nothing else, build a good company. It's very hard to say what does that actually mean, but I think if you always think about we are going to do something better for the planet, for ourselves, for for the people in the company, then you create an alignment on how we want to be, and from there you can develop the core values, you can develop the processes, you can develop the product, but it all starts with who do we want to be, who are we as people, how do you get the people that align with that thinking, because if you can do that, then you can scale up, I would say, basically any business idea at all. It doesn't need to be a fantastic IP or a fantastic service. If you have the right people, they will come with great ideas.
There is another quote that I actually like: if you're not embarrassed with your first product, you launched it too late.
Yes.
By Reid Hoffman.
Yeah.
So is that something?
I fully agree. I think when you have a product and when you have a services, you need to go out and test it. And I think you can be very honest with your customers as well, saying this is a beta type, it will have flaws, and I think that's the way also to build trust, because if you're always trying to make everything 100% ready before you launch, probably you will be too late, probably you will have missed it, and you will also miss a lot of interactions. Like you will never have develop 100% the best product. You need the interaction from the customer. So have the dialogue, but be open with the flaws that you think that it will have, and then you will see they will come with a lot of additions that you can fix and make it better.
Interesting. Moving on the quote track here.
Let's do it.
You've mentioned Horowitz.
Yes.
Who's your favorite author? I know. One of the favorite authors.
One of them.
And he's written a book called
Hard Things About Hard Things.
And what is it about?
It's about starting up companies.
So what was your lessons learned from that one?
That no one will care if your company goes bankrupt.
Ouch!
And I like this one is quite interesting actually, because when you're sitting, and I've started a lot of different companies, for you as an entrepreneur and as a founder, of course, it matters a great deal. For the people inside a company, it also matters a great deal. However, what he wants to point out is that in the startup world, with venture capitalists, usually the people working in startups are very hardworking, well-educated people. If a startup goes bust, these people in the company, they will find jobs very easily. So, it's if you look at the venture capitalists, the owners or the investors, this is part of their business plan. They know that 90% of all startups they fail. What's important to remember, and what I think, what I would urge, if you're thinking about starting a company, don't be that worried if it will fail, because then you will go away with there with a lot of learnings that you can bring with you when you start a new one. And just because one investor lost on one of that's actually part of their business plan. So they will
not be angry forever with you.
Definitely not, and they will probably say, well, you learned a lot from this, which means that if you have learned from it, you will not do the same mistakes again, and you will actually become better. So they have invested in your future.
To continue on what you just said, I've been speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs that actually say that when they have failed a couple of times, they are more sought after when they're starting up new things. Yep. They get more trust early on from investors in that case. So being open and honest with mistakes sounds like it's something that is important through this process.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. I think this goes even more for the US than Europe, where they really see the value of people having gone through such a process and all the learnings that come with it.
But this is really hard for many people. To admit mistakes and to dare to go out with something that is not 100%. You don't have all the answers or the processes. What drives you to put yourself in this position?
But I think it's when you realize that it's actually not that scary. Like if I go out and speak with about the mistakes that I have done, that we have made as a company, with investors or with customers, we create like a very good trust in between us. So and then they see that if I'm honest, because they also know that no one makes everything to 100%, right? If they see that I am honest, and they can be honest with what are their expectations that we will achieve, and in that we can find a very good balance, because in the startup you have a straight line on a plan on how to reach cash flow positive or how to increase the value, but it's never a straight line, right? It goes like this. So, and the investors know this. Usually the customer knows this, and if the customer doesn't know that, you should inform the customer. Otherwise, they are down for disappointment, right? But if and this is the tricky part. So how do you create that trust, and how do you do it? The way I do it is by being very open and honest. And that's been very successful so far.
I gathered a few fun facts about startups. Let's see if you say that this is true or not true. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay. Startups love coffee.
Yes.
According to statistics, actually they drink more coffee than bigger firms.
Probably yes. Because of the stress level.
Because of the stress level. Another interesting fact is that it's launched about 1,000 new apps daily, which means that every minute somewhere in the world there is a new app released. What does that say about entrepreneurship?
We like to move fast.
Where did Baseload start its office?
In Stockholm.
Was it in a garage?
Our first office was actually at the same location as one of our investors.
True, but where did it actually start?
On Iceland.
No. Where did it actually start?
In it started in my apartment.
In your living room?
Yes, that's right.
With your daughter hanging in a baby björn, which is like a carry.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's right. No, it started in my living room, and we had the first pitch meetings in my living room when I was on paternity leave with my first daughter.
I think that's an excellent example of daring to put something out there when it's not 100% done.
Yeah.
Who would dare to sit with people that could actually invest in an idea in a living room and just like throwing out the ideas?
I was scared to shit. It was very stressful. but it worked.
But tell me, you were scared, but you still did it.
Yeah, of course. This was a huge. This business idea had huge potential, and one of the best family offices, I would say, in Sweden, and they came over to my living room and, trying to have a PowerPoint presentation on my TV at the same time as my 10-month-old daughter was screaming and crawling around was scary and stressful.
I can only imagine. But you did it.
Yeah.
Another interesting fact is that there is a startup every third second. I mean, it's very competitive, right? And you said 90% of them fail.
Yes.
So what would be your advice for people, 6 years into it, moving into number 7, what are the top 3 tricks that you've had to keep it alive?
Be resilient, learn from your mistakes, and keep pushing.
Ooh, good ones. Can I add, be a little crazy?
Yeah, maybe, but I think, we should take away, people should not be afraid to start companies, and they shouldn't be afraid to fail, because many of them do. So, set up your own company and follow what you want to do, because if you do something that you love, you will do it much better. So if you're sitting in a large company feeling that I'm here mainly for the salary and for the security, but you have an idea that you want to try, I would say try it. Dare to do it. It might not be for you, you will notice, but I would say go out and give it a go. If you need another job, you will probably find one quite fast if you fail.
I think that this is actually very interesting, because I know that there are many people out there who are sitting and feeling that it's more secure to actually work in a big state company or a big corporation. But me being in both those worlds, it's not more secure to work in one of the big corporates. You do a reorganization and you're out
You
like
can be
this.
yes.
If you're starting your own company, you can at least drive your own
agenda.
Fate.
Yeah, fate as well. Yeah.
Something that we didn't talk about, and I want to refer to myself, having done the expected career moves, being from sales, moving into sales manager position, marketing, being in the big corporates and so on. Done most of it. I've never had this much fun in my life ever.
Yeah.
There are shitty days, absolutely. But honestly, I've never had this much fun.
No.
There is something in a startup where, the mindset of the people is completely different, and you laugh more. You get more frustrated as well, but you laugh more, you laugh louder about it. And it's something that I really want to emphasize that we're forgetting. It should be fun to work, right?
Definitely, I think building a company should be fun. You're living with the fear, but then if you can do what you love and you do something that have an effect on people, and you can make it fun, you will be much better, and the people working for you will also be much more happy and deliver on their job, right?
Yeah, and I think that what I think is pretty interesting is that if I just look, I can look at you and I can say your passion fuels me. And I think that the passion I have, being able to work with something that is very close to my heart, actually fuels the people I'm working with as well. So it actually it comes from the entrepreneur. It starts with the entrepreneur, but then it actually trickles down in an interesting effect.
Yeah, and you create a culture. I usually think about it. My first job was actually in the music industry, working for a big music festival. Everyone was working for free, but they had a very high drive. We want to create the best music festival in Sweden. And you have very engaged people spending a lot of their time for free to create something. And I think in a startup, you can replicate that kind of a feeling with, we are going to achieve this. It's not, it's not about me, the entrepreneur, it's about the team. We are going to do this together, which, gives it a ripple effect that you don't get in a large organization. And I think that's the beauty of a startup, and that's also what creates the fun. You all become accountable for the success or failure of the company, which makes it, for me at least, very exciting.
And for me, on the other hand, that is driven by dynamics. I mean, honestly, one day is never the same as the next.
No.
So it actually is a very dynamic way of being able to use your expertise. So just taking an example from my world, one day I'm setting a strategy for the industry, talking about how can we unite the industry, and another day I'm talking about the social media post that was not well written or very well written the other day. So it's like the dynamics in it is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that's only, and then you have, we need to solve HR problems, we need to solve technical issues. It's so many things, high and low, which also, creates that dynamics.
Yeah. You know what I'm most afraid of?
What?
That the startup feeling will end.
Yeah.
So I've seen many companies where you have this feeling and then they become the critical mass and something happens. It's like it drains it. This is something that I'm really scared of.
I agree. I think one company that's managed to do it is probably Google. I wouldn't say maybe all parts, because now they're a huge organization, of course, you have built in, but they, as a mindset, they want to run Google still as a startup. And that culture goes along when you meet people working for Google. So, it can probably be done. The question is how you do it. But I agree, it's I don't want to lose that feeling.
You and I share the same stress, but do you
and
have...
excitement.
And excitement. But to make sure that we don't get into that boring corporate company, what is your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, to succeed as a startup and not transfer into to a giant, I think you need to focus on taking care of the people first. How do we align? How do we do what we think actually will make a difference? So the people first, then comes the product or service, and in the end comes profitability. And I think you should always think about it in that order. Usually you try to flip it around. How do we make black numbers as fast as possible? And you don't understand what it will actually take in form of alignment and people to actually get there. So always start with the people, product, and then profits in that order.
Couldn't agree more. I know that those are some of the reasons why there are you measure on the happiness of your employees and then your customers, and in the end you get the profit. So it's there are a lot of research that actually shows this. How do you think that you will do this? Like, not in theory, but in practice?
I will recruit people that are smarter than myself.
I'm one of them. And I will recruit people that are smarter than me.
Yes.
So there will be a lot of people in the company that are smart.
Yes.
And wise. Can I add that we need to have good people as well?
A good coffee.
A good coffee, but good people with good coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's summarize this. I mean, we've gone through the terrors, we've gone through the euphoria, and we're now talking about like what it takes. If you would turn back time, would you do it again?
Yes.
What would be the advice that you would give to the Alexander who's starting this up?
If you have an idea, I would say go after it. You should respect that you can go bust. So you should keep death in mind at all time, because that also helps you create what's the plan B and what's the plan C, because things will inevitably go wrong. Things in a startup will be hard. But if you think about this, you can actually handle that fear, and you can come up with a better plan, and then learn from all the mistakes that you do. And remember that mistakes is something that is positive, because you can do something that is better. And then, focus on building something that is 10 times better than your competitor. And if you always have the mindset that we will do this 10 times better, we will do this 10 times smarter, and we will do this 10 times better with the people that we have, it gives you, a very interesting way of how you can scale the business.
Can I add one thing?
Please.
Work with people that you actually like.
Yes.
Because the journey is up and down, and you need people that you like to celebrate with. You need people that you can be sad with. And you need to really put a lot of effort and time into that relationship. Because otherwise I think it's too lonely.
Yeah, I agree. Always people, and have a lot of fun.
Have a lot of fun. And that will have to conclude today's episode of The Switch to a Greener Economy. We need more startups out there. We need more scale-ups out there. Whatever you heard today, I hope that you realize that it is not as hard as you think it is. It takes a little bit of guts in the beginning, but I know that you can do it to be a part of this. So thank you and goodbye, and take care of yourself. And if you can, Emil.
Someone else.
Yes.